to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I am Bryce Runge.
Well, Bryce, it's good to have you be with us, or with you again to work on episode 13.
Is it 13?
It is 13.
Oh, lucky 13.
I love 13. You know, my grandfather, he was born on Friday the 13th.
Wow, Friday the 13th.
So, we're not Friday. We're not
Friday.
the 13th, and there's no black cats, and I look around the studio, I don't see any umbrellas to open or ladders to go under, so I guess we're in pretty good shape.
No broken glass, mirrors, or anything? Is
No,
that something different?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Just throw it out there.
Sure. Well, I don't like to think I'm superstitious.
I'm not.
Okay.
Are you sure you're not?
You got any salt? I need to throw it over my shoulder.
I may or may not be wearing the same underwear for each episode.
Well, you know, you're a more of a professional athlete than I ever was, and I'm told that athletes have a lot of superstitions.
I never got into that. I never had my ritual. I didn't sacrifice any chickens or, pray to Buddha.
Or Jobu. For those of you that are Major League fans.
Ball 4. Ball 8.
Just a bit outside. Can't believe they're laying off such good pitches.
Oh, Major
sorry.
League. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. They are funny.
Oh, love it, love it, love it.
Alrighty.
Well, what would you like to talk about today?
We talked a little while ago about as we close out season 1. Congratulations!
Holy cow!
Yay,
High five!
Air high five! COVID.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I thought it would be interesting and fun for just to take our listeners and our conversation back to the beginning and recap a little bit of each episode.
Okay.
And just to kind of refresh some things. And as you and I have grown through this episode, maybe we can, provide some insight, in that, because this was our very first podcast adventure.
True.
I think we've done a fairly decent job, and the goal is to get better at it.
Well, we've got more than your wife and my wife downloading to follow, so I would say so.
That's good. In fact, my wife doesn't even follow us. So,
well, then we're up from 1 then. Okay.
No, I'm not throwing stones. She's very busy. She's got the 2-year-old and then the 3-month-old.
Yeah.
So she's a little busy.
We'll cut her some slack.
Yeah, we'll
and she has to work in there too.
She works, and she's taking care of her parents. So we're going to give her lots of grace. She deserves it.
Yes. Because, if you don't, you're going to wind up in divorce court again. And, well, you and I sadly have way too much experience in that. Because that's where we started with.
That is what we started this podcast with.
And, it is a huge family dynamic that can have a wide variety of effects, some positive, some negative. And, I guess I'm going to kind of maybe lump those first 2 together.
Okay.
When we, because we did it from an adult as well as a kid perspective.
Right.
But the one thing that I really found interesting was the idea that kids want to be left out of divorce.
Right.
That don't force me to take sides. And don't make me be a mouthpiece or a communication conduit. Tell me what I need to know, just enough so that I am not surprised and I can plan accordingly.
Right. Yeah.
But, because I think that as a parent, when you're hurt, you want people to rally to your side.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you got your family and maybe you got some of your friends. But you shouldn't, your kids are always going to be there because your kids can always love you.
Right.
And to ask them to take sides is, as an adult and all the work that I do with family law reform, yes, I know that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it when I was going through the divorce, but I've learned, as we were reaching the end, I realized I was having a negative effect on Eric and pushing him away by asking him questions, things that really leave him out of it.
Yeah.
And so I did there towards, when we got to the end of it, but at the beginning I wasn't. and in talking with, all the people we did in preparation for that particular episode, just tell me just enough that I need to know how to operate, but don't tell me all the sordid details and all the background and all the dirty laundry.
Yeah.
And don't make me pick you over my other parent.
Right.
Let me love you both equally in my own way.
Yeah. No, that's good. No, that's very good.
And it was kind of neat that, because we've learned a lot about divorce, about setting boundaries, with the ex and working with the ex to raise the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you actually have more experience with that than I do because I never, we never got to that point where we could work together.
Yeah. We, like you mentioned, it was rocky. Both sides are in pain. They're hurting. But through time, we learned to, put things into perspective for the most part. I recognize that this is, how can we make this the best for our son?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, but like you said, and let's communicate with him what he needs to know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And all the other garbage, just go vomit somewhere else on someone else, not to your kid.
That's where a support group here in the Dallas area. You were involved for a little while, but the divorce support group, having that weekly opportunity to kind of vent, getting a therapist, going to see a counselor. I've been seeing a counselor since crying out loud, February of 2011, and so here we are. Pushing the end of 2021, and I'm still seeing her once a month, every 5 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
But having the opportunity to kind of, vent to someone that, you got to pay them, but at least you're getting some kind of quality commentary back, other than, sometimes your family or friends would get to the point, can you just get over the divorce, please?
Yeah.
And move on.
Well, and then you have the family members that are feeding that anger.
Oh, yeah.
So be mindful of those things, and in seeking help, like a therapist, counselor, like Rod had mentioned, it's not a sign of weakness. That's actually a sign of strength.
I think so.
Yeah, I had gone to a couple times, and there was some points where I'm like, I don't really need this, But I have been to a point where I've had conversations with counselors that have, it's been extremely beneficial. So I've learned to put my pride aside and been like, okay, so I'm going to seek help because I need it, and that's okay.
You do.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that out there.
Yeah.
You do.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can help you out.
Okay.
I am a therapist in training, so we'll go sit on the couch out in the other room.
Okay. Let's move on.
Well, how about we talk about a real therapist? Because we did have a real therapist.
We did, and that was awesome.
Yes. Nicole Els came on and talked to us. And she provided, I thought she had some really good advice.
I agree 100,000%. In fact, there was some things that she had talked about that I had implemented.
Which is what?
The Google Calendar.
Yes.
I think that following episode, I had the conversation with Braddock's mom, and then it was maybe even a couple months, to be honest with you. I just finally got to the point where I'm like, okay, let's do this. I'm going to act upon this, and it has proven to be beneficial. So I've created the Google Calendar.
Okay.
Braddock's and his mom. It's shared with them. They all have editing rights. They could put events in there. There was an event that she just put in there just the other day, and I'm like, okay, well, I didn't know that was going on. So awesome, thanks. And then we're able to write in there, and I see it being extremely beneficial. And not that I don't dislike talking to her. I don't have an issue with talking to her. We're both working parents. We're both busy.
Yeah.
And this just is a very beneficial piece of whatever, right? It's very beneficial. Yeah.
And it's, if you know what's going on and you can plan accordingly, no surprises.
Right.
And that way, if something comes up that you want to do, or she wants to do, or Braddock's wants to do, like a sleepover
Yep.
or hanging out with pals or whatever it might be, that goes back to something we did talk about with our divorce was, it fits with healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was one of the things that she commented that you and I had talked at that time, and so I'm glad it's working.
Yeah. I really enjoy it. Like I put in, my brother Brad's coming into town.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the weekend's going to look like. If I'm not at work on Monday, you know why. And then my parents are coming the following weekend. They're going to be here for 2 weeks, and I'm able to add that. And so we're able to work around schedules and be like, okay, well, Braddock's needs to be there when they're here so that he gets to see them.
Mm-hmm.
So then we're also working on the flexibility part and just kind of really reinforcing, hey, this is about Braddock's. It's not about us.
Exactly, and it's that is. I think I might have mentioned it. I don't know, one of the episodes we did where I was sitting at a restaurant here in town, and Sherry and I were just eating lunch. Wasn't involved, but there was a mom, a dad, and a stepmom, and they were working on the calendar.
Wow.
And
I remember you saying that.
I mean, we were at lunch for, it was a summertime lunch, so we didn't have a lot to do.
Yeah.
But we were there for a better part of an hour, and they were there when we got there, and they were still there when we left, but they were talking about, well, this is what we got coming on, and, they were working together.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have the Google Calendar, but they still had a calendar.
Right.
And I went up to them and I said, thank you. Thank you I said, you don't know me, but just listening, I am so glad that you're doing that.
Yeah.
Because again, it's communication, it's setting boundaries, and it's putting the children first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's awesome that you said that can reinforce what they're doing is the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so not everyone could step up to just a random person's table and make comments like that. But Rod is a professional at that. Anyways.
Well, my shyness is a little less than what it was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But when you learn things, you're right. Sometimes you gotta. I'm a lot better at saying positive things than I am coming up going, man, you're an idiot. Would you stop? That was getting a lot of bad results.
Yeah.
So I stopped that.
Didn't get good responses out of that one?
No, not really. I mean, when people are looking at you, giving you the dirty looks.
Yeah.
Though I was driving home yesterday, and a lady with a Catholic school bumper sticker did not like the fact that I was closer than she wished to her bumper. I mean, she was about 9 miles an hour below the speed limit, but she gave me the one-fingered salute as I drove past her, and I said to myself, well, that's very Catholic-like.
You're number one.
I was number one.
That's awesome, Rod.
I mean, again, it goes to that open communication thing.
Yeah.
And then not just with, exes, but with the people around us.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
well, one of the other things that we talked about after Nicole was how to pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
After divorce, because I don't know, I think you and I have talked on multiple occasions, and this is kind of what, what brought us together the first time ever at that faculty Christmas party was trying to figure out, how do you pick up the pieces?
Right.
How do you move forward? And it was tough being single.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, when you're in your 40s being single, it's a lot different than when you're in your early 20s being single.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really enjoyed that episode. I know you and I both had a lot of insight to provide because it is challenging. It is hard. But again, the tips for that are true today as they were episode 5. Focus on your kids. Mm-hmm. Focus on your health, your mental health. Take care of you. Mm-hmm. Okay? Heal. You have to allow yourself to heal, to grieve, to go through that process.
Sure.
It's not going to happen overnight.
No.
If it does, wow. But it's not going to. It may take a long time, and be okay with that. Don't force a relationship.
You know, the lady that used to run the divorce group before she retired, she would always tell, and I remember when I first heard it, in fact, the first couple of dozen times I heard it, she was saying, don't jump into a long-term relationship. Be patient. Give yourself a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
It takes 18 to 24 months for you to go through the process of recognizing your contributions to the failure of the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And what can you do to fix that? Becoming not just physically healthy and emotionally healthy, mentally healthy, but spiritually.
Right.
Heal yourself spiritually. And lastly, becoming financially, healthy as well.
Right.
So once I understood what she was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And being a slow learner, it took me a little while, but it was kind of insightful because I started seeing people who were ignoring that advice.
Mm-hmm.
And all it did was make their next serious relationship be very difficult. It ended in breakup, and you're back to square one, and all the work you had done was for naught as you're starting all over again. And so when I was seeing that, I go, ooh, she really is correct on that.
Oh, yeah.
And so nobody wants to hear that. I did not want to hear that it was going to take me that long.
Right.
Again, I am a slow learner, so it took me several years to get to the point that, okay, maybe I am ready to make a more serious commitment.
Yeah.
And so it's...
Yeah, no, and that's really is powerful advice. Listen, if you're a glutton for punishment, then don't make time to reflect. I think that's the biggest piece.
Okay,
what you mentioned, like you honestly need to look in the mirror and take ownership.
Yes.
Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't, and then you jump back in, you're going to wonder why there's a repeat.
Yeah, well, what, man, this person is just like the ex I married. My goodness, my picker must be off.
No, well, look in the mirror. Look in the mirror.
I got to tell you, I like when you said the word reflection.
Yeah.
Because I think that is truly the concept. And it is so hard, or at least for me, it was very hard to do just that, to look in the mirror and go back and reevaluate what was I doing wrong.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
And that was hard for me to admit.
Yeah.
Even today. And I still make mistakes. I think I'm better at admitting my mistakes. And I think I'm better at working to correct those mistakes so that I'm not, repeating them. I get to make whole new mistakes.
Yeah.
But it's, that learning to be single again, it's okay to take risks, but yet at the same time, be careful. Be mindful of your past so that way you don't repeat it in the future.
Yeah. No, that's good advice. That's good stuff.
And it all must have done something good because, ta-da, we both got remarried.
We did, and we both outkicked our coverage.
Oh, absolutely. You've said that on more than one occasion, and I've started using that myself.
Oh.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, when I introduced myself to my students this semester, I actually used those words. I said I got remarried. I said I outkicked my coverage on that. And a number of kids, they started laughing because they got the joke.
Right.
Because... I guess maybe you got to be into football to get that joke.
If you're a sports person, then yeah. Basically, what we're saying is our new wives are out of our league. We don't know. They must have some goggles on that, I don't know, make us look like GQ magazine cover type guys.
Oh, yeah.
I know we are.
Yes,
I'm not downplaying.
Oh, yeah. No. In my own
humans
mind,
we are.
Oh, yeah. I mean, holy cow.
Like when I look in the mirror, I'm like, dang, you are stunning.
Oh, yeah. What a handsome looking feller.
Yeah. So, yeah, anyway.
Man, I should have wore boots.
Oh, it's getting thick in here, folks. It's getting thick.
But, by taking the time to do the reflection you mentioned, when these people these wonderful ladies showed up in our lives, we were in a position to recognize what they were able to provide for us, and that they were radically different than the people we originally married.
Yeah. Well, we went through that pruning process, and we chose to do that. We knew that was the right route to take. Because I don't know how you were. I know we were in the dating scene, and we had several conversations. And at one point, I said, "Look, I'm going to delete these apps. I'm going to not focus on that. I'm going to focus on the things that we just talked about, the reflection. I'm not going to take from 1.0 into 2.0. Whenever that's going to be."
Sure.
And at one point I gave up. I'm like, okay, this is it. I trust God that person is going to show up. And sure enough, but I was prepared because I reflected.
Sure.
I took time to own the things, look back and own the things where, okay, this needs to be fixed. I can't take it into the next relationship. Because I don't want to feel that way again. I don't want to experience that. I want a thriving marriage.
I want that relationship. For me, my mom and dad, who have been married for over 60 years, they exemplify, they're the poster child in my mind of what marriage should be. It's hard work. It's a lot of compromise, but it's a lot of love, and it's a lot of putting the other person first.
Right.
And so, it took me a while. I mean, Sherry had been in my life for a long time. And I think I mentioned this before, but we were at a wedding of some other good friends from the divorce group. And they said, the preacher said, you don't marry a person you can live with. You marry that person you can't live without.
Right.
And it had been 4 years since my divorce came to that sudden screeching halt. And I began to realize when I got married the first time, this is somebody I can live with. But then I began to realize, who could I not live without? And I started to imagine my life without Sherry, and I go, this isn't a life I want to live. And so that's when I let her know. I said, hey, because, we were just friends. And I kept saying, well, we're just friends.
Right.
Knowing in my heart of hearts, that was an absolute lie.
Yeah.
But if my mind kept saying, oh, hey, then, but no, it turned out to be the right thing. And
sure.
Now, working with her, taking those lessons learned, learning how to communicate, with each other, taking time off sometimes to not, I got to solve it right now. Taking time. You don't have to respond. Take some time, reflect, calm down.
Right.
It's because it's not just me, it's now extended family. Because there's her kids.
Right.
And and becoming part of, her family.
Yeah.
And so it's been, a lot of those lessons, a lot of the things, and I think she and I have had multiple conversations, that the stuff that we're doing now we did not do before in Marriage 1.0.
Yeah.
And not sure how much that played into the divorce, but we both think that it played big roles, and so we're working hard to make sure that it's not repeating itself.
Yeah, so what you guys are doing, you're consciously, you're setting course toward a conscious destination. This is the vision I have for my. Now, opposite of that, why we see all these divorces is that people, organizations, teams, relationships in general, unknowingly fight against all the things that they don't want because they don't set course toward a conscious destination. It's just like, there's no design.
Thank you.
It's all on by default, and I know we've talked about that.
Sure.
And we may even touch on that a little bit before. But that's what you're doing. That's what we're doing here. It's by design.
Well, and that's kind of ties in. We did that whole episode on life by design versus life by default. In fact, I used that exact statement because I've facilitated our divorce group on Tuesday, and there was a lady who was stuck in park, and she wanted to know, well, I just can't get past it, but I keep doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I go, well, okay, but you make a choice.
Right.
And I think that the idea of life by design, I think that's something that you and I changed as part of our reflection, and as we started a new life with our new wives. It was, we're going to live more by design and be more in control of our life instead of just rolling with it, kind of like a ship on the ocean without a rudder.
Yeah.
And so I like that, that life by design, because you shared that with me, and I have found it to be so true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it has helped me, and I'm trying to use it to help others.
Yeah.
To get themselves out of park.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, there's a therapeutic theory by a guy by the name of Adler, and he talks about the miracle question. And he said, and it's kind of like if you could go to bed and then wake up in the morning and one thing has changed in your life that would make it so much better, what would that be? Well, it's that concept of taking it by design, taking charge of your life. And, maybe, I don't know. Again, for me, it has made a huge difference because I feel happier because I feel more in control. Not total control, but I feel like I have a greater influence of where I'm going.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And that only takes place. You're only able to do that when you sit, you reflect, you look in the mirror, you take ownership, and you learn from those experiences. So you don't take the bad into the new season, the next season of your life. There's going to be there's plenty of that in the future. But you're better equipped now because you're living by design.
Thank you.
Right.
And I'm over here like what you said one time. Well, I'm over here like a bobblehead going, Because
I do have some good advice.
You have. Well, you also mentioned something about a graveyard. Do you remember what? I forget exactly how you phrased that.
I think we were in episode 7. We talked about specifically what would you do if you knew you could not fail.
Yes.
And that was a good one. Yeah, I mentioned the graveyard, and I actually heard it from Les Brown. I got to see him live and speak, and he mentioned the graveyards being the wealthiest places in the world. I'm like, what? And I know the first time I mentioned that you were like, what? And then we were like, what? Anyways, a lot of people, unfortunately, go to their grave with unrealized goals, unreached goals. They let their dreams die. They never wrote that book. They never asked that person out. They never started that business. They never forgave that person. The list goes on.
Sure.
And that's when I think the wealthy, those are wealthy. I'm not talking about financial things because we don't go with that.
No.
What we live with is the legacy we live or leave, and the impact that we make in our character.
Because the only thing, and I don't know where I heard this, but I believe it to be super true, that the only thing that we are in control of is our reputation.
Yeah.
And that reputation, is created many different ways. My dad always said, a person's no better than their word. If the person says, if the person says that this is what they're going to do and when they're going to do it and how they're going to do it, then that's what they do.
Yeah.
Those people that, and this was my ex-wife. She would make promise after promise after promise and then bail
No follow through.
No, and it really jerked my chain the wrong direction because I'm going, you represent, you and I are a team. So when you say this, that means we do this, and then you cancel. That really that
Right.
So it's it's going into the idea of taking the chance, taking the risk, do that thing. And, we talked about by doing that, well, our podcast.
Yeah.
Us making the podcast was a leap of faith.
Yeah.
And I wrote my book, For the Love of Eric.
Mm-hmm.
And that has had a huge positive impact on me. You wrote your book that came out here this summer 2022.
Yeah.
Or 21.
21.
Whatever. Yeah.
Don't speed it up, buddy. Slow it down.
Okay. But my point was that we're taking risks so that we don't go to the grave.
Right.
And we're seeing a lot of positive things come out as a consequence.
Yeah.
And I love that we're pushing new ideas. We're not randomly, willy-nilly, skydiving or jumping off a bridge with a bungee rope.
Yeah.
But which I guess you can do. My little sister, she went skydiving and loved it.
Wow.
Me,
Not a fan.
no, I don't mind flying in a plane, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna willingly jump out of a perfectly good airplane. So, but
that's good. That was a favorite. That was one of my favorite episodes because it just tied into exactly what we're doing here.
Yeah.
With our books and going back in the dating scene and then finding the woman that we both believe that was very divine. And so and then again, like not wanting to go to the grave with all the wealth, like everything trapped inside. And I think through the podcast and something that I even talk about in my book is the legacy that we leave, the impact. How can we make a positive impact in society?
And that's where, I think we did the episode we did titled Getting Knocked Down.
Right.
I don't know which one that came out in, but the one that we did, life's going to kick you square in the gut.
Yep.
And it's going to do it again and again and again because life wants to know, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to smack you upside the head. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. How are you going to respond?
Exactly. And it's not, sometimes in the TV shows or movies are going, stay down, stay down. Mm-hmm. Life doesn't want you to stay down, I don't believe.
No.
It wants to see, how do you get back up?
Right. There's this motivational speaker and famous author. He said that life is full of obstacles and challenges, and those are exactly what we need to become triumphant.
Yeah. I keep thinking about, that's so really true because I start thinking about who I am today.
Yeah.
At, at 52, I can look back and I go, how did I get here?
Mm-hmm.
And everything that I am, everything that I stand for, every value that I have is a result or a consequence of everything that has happened to me, both good and bad.
Right.
And it's sometimes getting knocked square on your butt can be a wonderful reality check that you're not all that in a bag of chips.
Right.
You may have a t-shirt, but that doesn't prove that you're Superman.
Right.
And, it's, okay, after Eric died, yeah, I could have stayed down. And many people have told me, they said, well, how'd you get back up? And my only thought was, I didn't know I could stay sitting down.
Mm.
I just had to go.
Right.
And we've talked about when you were wanting to get into the NFL and what a dream that was.
Mm-hmm.
And when you didn't realize that dream, well, that wasn't the end of the world.
Yeah.
You found a way to use that as a learning experience get back up and move forward.
Yeah.
I don't know. The fact that both of us are professional educators,
Mm-hmm.
I share with the kids a lot. The teachers that I like the most, that I work with,
Mm-hmm.
because they're interesting or dynamic, they were kind of like me. When we were in school, we were kind of the screwballs, the odd ducks. We weren't the A students. We weren't the teacher pets. We weren't the ones that at 17 and 16 said, ooh, I want to be a teacher. It's kind of like, my God, I can't wait to get out of school.
Right.
And I hate school. I hate teachers. I hate all this stuff.
In fact, why am I here right now?
I mean, yeah. Now, I jokingly tell the kids that the real world sucks, that I can't, stay in high school as long as you can, I was out in the real world and I came back to high school.
Yeah. You had to come back.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, though.
I do think it's funny that both of us weren't like huge fans. I know I wasn't of school. Barely graduating myself. Just kind of hated it, to be honest with you. Now we're both.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm almost, what is this, my 17th year as, not a full-time teacher, but in education. Yeah. So it's just kind of funny. Well, but I think it's because of who we are, and the experiences that we've experienced, and the insight that we are able to provide is what makes us the good teachers that we are.
I think so. The ability to connect to the kids,
Absolutely.
To try and relate to them, because I see myself in many of our students, or at least many of mine. I don't teach middle school, thank you very much. But it's all about, again, you get your butt kicked, so step back up. It's okay to fail. It's part of taking a risk. Take a risk because the reward is better than the regret.
Yeah.
And if you fail, okay, so it goes.
Yeah. Hey, so Braddock started football, full pad football, 7th grade.
Oh my!
And he's been a little nervous, and rightfully so. And he started. Game was last Tuesday, and he played special teams, and then he started playing nose guard.
Oh my!
And he's not huge. He's not. I wouldn't pin him as a nose guard, but it's fine. And the first play he got destroyed. The big offensive center. I'm like, is he really in 7th grade? Let's check his birth certificate. He looks like he's 12th grade. Anyways, he got destroyed, but Braddock's popped right back up. And after the game, he's like, man, I got destroyed that first play. Did you see that? I'm like, yeah, I got it on film. You want to watch it? And we did watch it. He's like, I'm like, but what'd you do? What happened right after it? I got right back up. That's what it's about, dude. That's what it's about. Get back up. What can you do different? Mm-hmm. And let's move on. Let's have fun. Anyways, so.
No. Well, and that, what you did kind of fits into what we talked about with love languages.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little affirmation.
Yeah.
Where you're saying, you know what, you did good. Okay, so it didn't work out, but hey, I'm proud of you. You tried.
Yeah.
Because you and I, we both talked about, our love languages.
Yep.
And in fact, after Sherry and I had talked, after we posted the episode, Sherry and I talked about it, and we were talking about various things as to love languages, and we both agreed that we're a mix of physical touch and acts of service.
Right.
Sherry a little more act of service, me a little more with the physical touch. Which one did you say was more like you?
I'm definitely affirmations.
Okay.
Braddock's is quality time, and Suzanne is she's more of the touch, and she's kind of a mix as well. But I think acts of service. I'm always looking at ways to serve her, especially during this time of her season. But yeah, it's funny. Suzanne and I talked after that episode as well, and it's good because we reinforced love language. We had that conversation. We communicated again, and sometimes you're going and going and going, and you forget about those things. So it kind of brought us back to, oh yeah. I love to be affirmed, and Branix loves quality time, and it's just a good reminder.
Well, and when you're able to better understand the people you care about and their love language, the way that they express their love, that can, I think, play a huge role in conflict resolution.
Oh, absolutely.
And I loved when we talked about that, about listening, about, well, for me, it has to be active listening because I absolutely can become overconfident and I assume, and we all know what happens when you assume.
Oh, yeah.
And for the longest time I wanted to avoid conflict.
Yeah.
Sometimes I still do, and I just swallow it. But, listening, having, being patient, being able to understand a person's, body language, reading that. And I'm not perfect, but I'm better than what I used to be.
Yeah.
And looking and understanding a person's body language, because it helps me with my kids, with my students, as well as, my coworkers, so that way, I don't run screaming down the hall at them, because as I learn to pick my battles, then I'm finding I can, just breathe deep, relax, focus on the now, and go, at the end of the day, is this a hill worth dying on? And it's probably easier just to forgive that person, and all's good.
Yeah. I think, if anything, you've said it a couple times, and I know we've said it on our podcast many, many times, because it's paramount. Communication, right? But more so listening. And we've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. And Stephen R. Covey says it best. Most people listen with the intent to respond, not to understand. You got to listen to understand where the person's coming from, right?
Yes.
That's how you're going to resolve conflict. I need to put Bryce aside, okay, and then focus on my bride.
Or whoever else.
What are you trying to... You're right,
Whoever you're talking to, and recognize that there might be a lot going on besides what you're seeing.
Right.
And to go with what you were saying from Stephen R. Covey, a very good friend of mine is a salesperson, and he says, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And it really kind of hit me between the eyes that is so true. And it goes back to the idea with the one we did on conflict resolution of just listen.
Right.
And listen to understand rather than respond, and maybe, just maybe, you can, avoid problems or find healthier, more long-lasting solutions.
Right. Yeah. When you approach it that way, you and whoever you're in a conflict with, you're going to grow. You're going to grow closer together. It's gonna mold those fractures, or if you will, and you're just going to grow. And then that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I guess sometimes I find, or not sometimes, a lot of times that I find when we're doing, this podcast, I love that we're talking about these things, because it's a nice reminder for me that, we can share these things.
Yeah.
And that it's, kind of reminder. Which, brings us back to our vision statement. All right? Where, the concept of believing that a place at home, being home is where it should be relaxing and comfortable. In fact, I'm going to read right off our mission statement.
Yeah,
that it should be a place where loved ones engage, respect, accept, and embrace each other. In other words, a place you love or you enjoy being.
Yeah.
And I think that we're doing that.
Yeah. Well, when you think about, when you look back and when we sat and why are we doing this? What is our why? Why are we doing this? And so we could look back at our vision and our mission, and we could say, okay, And we've been operating. We've been doing our podcasts, and we've been operating out of our vision. We've continued to stay on a mission because we know our why.
Yeah.
And so, just to bring us back to it, our vision is to help our families, your families, create an environment where understanding one another leads to a healthier and happier connection. And our mission, it's how we get there, right? And it's to equip families with tools to better relate and thrive in their relationships with one another.
Because you and I have a lot of experiences, both positive and negative, that have truly shaped who we are. And, we feel that to waste the opportunity to share would, in essence, be taking it to the graveyard.
Right. No, I agree. Well, hey, before we close, I want you to put a plug out there for your book.
Oh, okay. For the Love of Eric I'm told a pretty easy read. It's a two-parter that is my experience going through family court and the culmination of a horrible ending. It has a lot of stuff on, parental alienation and things like that, where Eric was forced to choose. His mother put him into a lot of no-win situations. The second half of the book then talks about what is parental alienation, what it looks like, what it sounds like, how to recognize it. But I've also got a lot of other stories from individuals who, also had horrible experiences going through family court. It's available up on Amazon. So if you just look under my name, Rod McCall, it usually pops up, or anything relating to divorce. But it's got a picture of Eric. It's the last picture I have of him, his first day of school for second grade. So it's really, again, I've had a lot of positive response to it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of folks have found, or at least they've shared with me, that they found a lot of positive information in there to help them on their story.
Yeah. No, and I would agree with that. Reading it after finally coming around to reading it, because you and I are best of friends, and I know the story. And I'd be lying if I wasn't crying reading it. But there is so much positive information in there. And so that's why I wanted you to address it. I know we're going to talk about it more in the future, because there's so much positive advice in there. But I just wanted you to throw it out there. Again, get on Amazon, pick up For the Love of Eric, Rod McCall, and help you and help your situation if you're going through an unfortunate divorce.
And whether you're going through a divorce or not, we got your devotional book out there. Wake up, wake up, wake up.
Yeah, there is that. It again on we're plugging each other. Hey. Okay. So yes, it is again on Amazon. You could also go to my website, brycerunge.com. It's on there, but yeah, it's doing well. I'm picking up my speaking. So if you're a listener of ours and you have a business or you know of anyone, I have been asked to speak at several events, and I've got them. I'm scheduling them more and more. So that's awesome.
Way to go!
It's been a passion of mine. And then using the book, just like you did with For the Love of Eric, and I know you'll continue to do so. And again, how could we make it a positive impact in the world?
And that's what we're doing this. It's a mission of love.
Yeah.
We ain't getting paid for a lot of this, but in fact, I'm not getting paid for anything.
Hey, wait a second, buddy. Are you getting paid and not telling me? You said we're not getting paid a lot. Are we getting paid at all?
Well, not for the podcast. But it is a pleasant opportunity to share these difficult lessons that we have learned the hard way. And so,
Hey, if you're a listener, get your friends and family members tuned in. Give us a review on whatever platform you're listening. We'd love that feedback. That feedback is going to help us get better. And I know that you've been receiving through Facebook. But yeah, we'd love to hear feedback. How are we doing? How can we get better?
Sure.
How can we help you guys thrive in your relationships and in your families?
That being said, we are going to take a short break. We've got a few things cooking that between work and family, and we kind of need to restock our taped episodes because it's amazing. We thought a week would be plenty of time, but it's proven a little more challenging to arrange our schedule. So anyway, plus I've got a little bit of research I want to do on some topics that we're looking at getting into, so I need a little more research time. So we're going to take a few weeks off. So please, starting in early October, check back with us. So when we've missed a week or two in the past due to some technical glitches and errors, I received some text messages from different folks going, hey, what's going on? So we just wanted to give you a shout out. So give us a couple of weeks, and we will be back early to mid-October to have some new episodes.
Yeah, and then we'll put it out there on the social media, let you know when we're back and whatnot. But again, stay tuned. I know season 2, we've got some pretty awesome things set up for you guys,
including stress. Dealing with that, as well as kids in sports and a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah, so stay tuned.
Sorry, this took a lot. This was probably our longest one.
A little bit.
I guess I talked too much, so I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to say, see you soon.
And we appreciate you. Y'all take care.